We are live, and this is what I'm talking about. What's going on, everybody? Go ahead and make sure you press one if you can hear me. Press one if you can hear me. Let me see. That's what I'm talking about. So, seems like y'all can hear me. So, go ahead and get in here. Get in here right now. So, tell me where y'all tuning in from. Tell me where y'all are tuning in from. Just give me 1 second. Just want to make sure I got these links shared for everybody. 1 second. All right, it takes forever. So, all right. So we got T Royal. All right. Jelena, what's going on? Hey, what's up, T Royal 8? Man, this is dope. Uh, hey, what's up, Shannon? Trying to see who we all got in here. We trying to figure this thing out. So, y'all press one if y'all can hear me. We are here. I wanted to some reason I kind of like this better than the other platforms. I don't know if let's see. All right. Look, my inbox has been flooded lately, right? With people wanting to leave their 9 to 5. And you know, society, not on society, but the news and all of those other platforms aren't letting people know about all the job layoffs that's happening, right? So if you're sitting here waiting on somebody to come save you, that's probably not going to happen. Or if you got to understand too, if somebody creates the platform for you to be able to uh, have life and comfort, if they give it to you, they can take it away as well. So I want to make sure that people kind of understand that concept, and I wanted to assist and want to like help people out. Um, I was trying to do it in the other room so that people can come in and ask their questions, right? So I'm trying to share it to make sure that people can come in and do that. So it don't show you who's on here. So I got to figure this thing out. It doesn't show you who's on here. I'm not sure why it's happening like that. Just give me a second. And if you aren't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. I got a lot of things coming for y'all. A lot of things coming. A lot of things coming. Right. Just want to make sure that I give you guys everything that you need to be able to be successful with. And the only thing I ask for you is to just hit the subscribe button. So I hope that ain't a lot. So where y'all tuning in from? I see Althea Cooper. That's my dog. That's what I'm talking about. Like Althea, she becoming one of my day ones, right? Because she always shows up for the kids. So I appreciate that up there. Brandon DeGraffin Riot. Wait, I don't want to mess your name up. Brandon DeGraffin right. Is it Brandon DeGraffin right? Or Brandon DeGraffrey the DeGraffin Re Ray? I don't know. I don't want to mess your name up. Martin's Empowerment Group. What's going on? So look, uh, one of the biggest things I want to share some things that people are going through right now, and I want to share like what's going on in the market first, right? Oh wow, I got it right. The graphing right. So is it Brandon the graphing right? That's dope. Okay, from the PAT. So look, it's my inbox has been flooded, and they said, "Well, Coach, do you have anything that I can use to like leave my 9 to 5?" And I was like, "Well, what are you doing on your 9 to 5?" And then they said, "Well, I do this or I do that." And then I said, "Well, what are you trying to do?" And then the first thing they said is, well, I'm trying to do this. And I asked, well, how much experience do you have there? And they said, well, none, but I saw such and such doing that. And I said, well, do you know such and such a story? And then they said, well, no, I just know that they're making a lot of money doing what they're doing. And I said, well, I happen to know of such and such. And I realized the first thing that stood out about them was how they overcame what they overcame to solve their problem and then use what they solved their problem with to create a solution for somebody else. Because the first three letters in solution are the first three letters in solve, too. So first you have to solve a problem for yourself or somebody else, and then use the solution or use how you solve that problem and create a blueprint of the steps that you use to solve that problem. But also, times and markets change as well, right? So what you use to solve a problem now might not be the same thing that you would use to solve a problem in a different season. And you got to really be careful. And that's the difference between a mentor and a coach. Because a mentor shows you how they overcame their things and give you a blueprint to what they use to overcome it. A coach will coach you on overcoming that because they would identify you and help you and understand that, all right, you're different than me. So I got to be able to get your disc assessment. I got to be able to see your personality. I got to be able to see your habits and all kind of things like that. Because now if I had a bunch of discipline and I sat down and pounded it out for about 60 days, pause, then you might not have those same habits, right? So a mentor will literally say, hey, this is what I did. This is how I got it done. And, that's pretty much what it was, right? But a coach would say, hey, one of the things I realize is you're kind of lazy. You don't go live. You can't do this. Or your personality says you can't go live or blah, 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 right? And then they would say, well, being that doesn't work, let me create a new path. That's why when you look at a team that has a coach, like if you look at Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan was Kobe Bryant's mentor, right? And Kobe Bryant followed everything that Michael Jordan did, all the way from watching everything that he did. Most people watch their mentors and see what they do because now Michael Jordan created a blueprint for Kobe Bryant, right? So Michael Jordan was Kobe Bryant's mentor. That's somebody that he can watch. That's somebody he can model everything after. That's somebody when he calls for advice, because Michael Jordan is not watching Kobe practice every day, they're watching Kobe. He's probably knowing that Kobe's hunger and things like that, but he's not in there watching how Kobe plays one-on-one against people. Watch how Kobe come off the pick and play against other people, right? So Michael Jordan would only be able to mentor Kobe Bryant at that point. And so therefore, mentors position themselves to be able to create a solution for themselves and then share what they use for a solution for that. So when you see people saying, hey, join my such and such program where I'll show you how I made such and such dollars in such and such days, that's why a lot of people go in there and they join a mentorship. Some of them call themselves coaches, and I see a lot of people calling mentors coaches, right? And there's nothing wrong if you feel that they're your coach, but you got to also realize, though, if Michael Jordan turned around and tried to coach Kobe Bryant, you'll probably get the same results as the Charlotte Hornets been getting, right? Probably losing a lot. And I'm not saying that he can't, because one person who's a mentor, I'm going to show you some mentors can be coaches or some coaches can be mentors. The perfect example of that is probably Deion Sanders, right? So Deion Sanders, if he paved the way and he was one of the most dynamic shutdown corners in the NFL over time, then you would probably say that he's a mentor, because a lot of people would look at the way that he shut people down. A whole half, a half of the field, the whole left side of the field was shut down when Deion Sanders was out there. And then if you lined up on the right corner, the whole right side of the field was shut down. And people would say, we're not going to get into like what they say about his weaknesses are, because everybody has a weakness. He can't tackle. He didn't have to tackle that much because he did what he had to do. But so let's say if you didn't have everything that Deion had, let's say if you watched everything that Deion did, it's a snapshot. It's a Deion did it. He completed it. It's a complete snapshot. So that's mentorship, watching and studying his game, because a lot of people study their mentors, right? Like Kobe studied Jordan. But when it came to actually a cornerback saying that, hey, I want to go and play for Deion, so that Deion is not only showing me how he did it, Deion is actually being able to identify my weaknesses and showing me how he studied quarterbacks, and then showing me in real time what I'm not doing to study the quarterback right. And then he had a perfect situation because he had a son at quarterback. So now Travis Hunter probably looked at Deion as a mentor, but Deion can actually coach Travis Hunter, right? Because now if Travis is there, Dion can look at Travis's weaknesses and say, hey, you're doing this wrong. You're doing that wrong. Hey, you can't do this the way I did it because we're a different size. Hey, you got a little step farther than me. You're a little faster than me, or you could play both sides of the ball better than me. So I'm going to put you here in a position to win. So now Dion would be Travis Hunter's mentor and coach, right? And then you might even have a coach who probably wasn't a good mentor. And I'm going to give you a good example of that. Bill Belichick never played the game of, in the NFL. Probably nobody's mentor on that field right there. Now, Bill Belichick will probably be a coach's mentor who is trying to be a legendary coach, right? So now, but a player wouldn't look at Bill Belichick as a mentor from a player's perspective, but Bill Belichick can identify the weaknesses in there and say, hey, this is what I need to do to bring the best out of a Tom Brady so that we can win. So therefore, Bill Belichick will be a great coach to Tom Brady and eventually probably a mentor the way that he handled leadership. So you guys got to be very careful in interchanging those words different, because some of you might need a coach where you're trying to get a mentor at and you're following program after program. So this is very important when you're trying to leave your 9 to 5. And most of the people who are trying to leave their 9 to 5 don't realize that their job that they're on right now, they probably already have a mentor there that they're not even paying attention to. Right. So now you've got to realize, I'm trying to tell you this, your job is your first mentor. Put that in the comments. My job is my first mentor. A mentor is here to show me or be the blueprint and a guide to how I overcame things. A coach is to show me how I can overcome things. A mentor creates a program that's 100% designed and developed on how they did it. That's why most mentors actually go get exotic cars, luxury vehicles. They pop up in a house, and then they always posting in front of jets and things like that with their vehicles, because they want you to model yourself after a life. So what mentors do is they'll post a life that they think you want. They want you to, hey, follow me, follow me, follow me. And that's what mentors do. That's why most mentors want a bunch of followers. Most coaches aren't the most popular and don't want followers, because their job is to not gain popularity for themselves, but their job a lot of times is to highlight you. And if you look at what Dion is doing, Dion is a perfect hybrid of mentor / coach, because one of the things that he's a coach that knows how to market as well. He's a marketer, right? Which is good, because now he knows how to bring attention to the program, but he also knows how to, coach people up. And so that's very, very important. So a lot of y'all, if y'all trying to leave y'all 9 to 5, let me go ahead and tell y'all, find a mentor before you hire a coach. If you're trying to leave your 9 to 5, find a mentor before you hire a coach. And sometimes that mentor might become your coach if they show that they can actually help you in identifying your weakness to be able to turn it into a strength or to magnify your strength. My bad. I got to get more water. I'm on this. Man, it's killing me. Hold on. Yeah, make sure y'all hit the like button. If y'all are on here, make sure you try to figure out a way to hit this like button. So I'm trying to, get people together on here. So let me see. Okay, now I got it to where I can actually see the questions. Hey, what's up, Heather? What's going on, Van Ty? So we got some people on Facebook. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, appreciate you, bro. Chaos and share this. All right, that's what's up. So yeah, so find you a mentor, right? Before you hire a coach. And the reason why you would want to do that is you need to study somebody. I don't care who it is. Find somebody that appears to look like the person that's doing what you're trying to do. Don't jump ship, or not jump ship. Don't jump the gun and say, "Oh, you're the one. You're the one." Look around, right? Don't take forever to look around, but look around at how you want to do certain things and say, well, who's doing it the way that I would want to do it, right? And so now when you're talking about finding a mentor, just because they're doing it the way that you would want to do it doesn't mean that they can help you identify how you're going to be able to do it. So always have that in the back of your mind. Just because a person, and I know it's easy to, if I'm trying to sell a mentorship, I would tell you stuff like success leave clues. And then you're going to be like, well, I'm going to find a mentor because success leave clues, right? Failure leave clues too, but nobody talks about their failures as well. So I just wanted to be careful with that. So now this is directly designed for a person who's trying to leave their 9 to 5. The first thing that you want to do is you want to go ahead and document the time that you have outside of that 9 to 5, right? And most people don't go to work at 9 and get off at 5. Some of them go to work at 9 and get off at 6 because you got an hour lunch break, right? Some people go to work at 11 p.m. and get off at 7 in the morning. So those 9 to 5 hours, they call it that, but you can work different times of the day. But you got to go ahead and calculate how much free time do you have, right? Let me go ahead and say this, and I need y'all to put this in the comments to make it interactive. If I am not where I want to be in my business or in my life, I don't have free time. You literally have to carve out and earn your free time that you're supposed to have, right? And the reason why that's very important is because if you don't do it the right way, you got to make sure that when you leave your 9 to 5, that you're maximizing the time that your 9 to 5 once had. But what I realize a lot of people do, let's say if you do work at 11 night to 7 in the morning, some people don't know if they want to stay up after work and go to bed around 2 or 3 and then wake up later right before work, or go to bed right before, right after they get off to work. So if you work at 11 at night to 7 in the morning shift, I think that's an amazing shift to work, especially if you're trying to leave your 9 to 5. So, step one, if you got a 9 to 5 and you got an option to work 11 at night to 7 in the morning, I think it's amazing. The reason why is because now, when the world is open and when people are in your face, now you can say, hey, if I get off at 7 o'clock in the morning, I can make my action time 8 within my business and then run my action time all the way to 3 o'clock. And then now, 3, 4, 5 o'clock, get a nap, go to bed, wake up about 9:30, take a bath, get to work, right? So that's amazing because you still can actually work on your 9 to 5-ish and then get off and then actually operate a business. But most people aren't that lucky. Most people are actually working warehouse jobs where they go in at 6 in the morning, right? To where or 3 p.m. And then now you got to figure out what you're going to do from 3 p.m. to bedtime. Some of y'all already have kids, right? Some of y'all have a husband that y'all, we're babies, especially when we're husbands, right? We big babies. And so now it's like having another kid there because especially if you're a woman, you know, most of y'all still work, but still be trying to hold the house down. So I applaud y'all on that. I know a lot of people don't tell y'all how amazing that is, but I really think that's amazing, right? But if that is you and that's your situation, though, you still have to realize this. And I want you to notate this, right? Because if you work from 6 to 2, 6 to 3, 7 to 3, whatever, right? Let's say you work when you get off at 4 or 5 o'clock. If you're not 100% maximized from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. or 11 p.m., if you don't 100% maximize that time, put this in caps. Do not leave your 9 to 5. Do not leave your 9 to 5. If you're not maximizing those 6 or 7 hours outside of your 9 to 5, do not leave your 9 to 5. The reason why you don't want to do that is because if you haven't figured out a way to keep that time busy, and then now you just freed up more time, what you just did is you created a bunch of idle time where you don't even know how to fill your time. Did you know that most successful people who build and grow their business have mastered the art of time, have found a way to keep themselves gainfully employed, right? To say, hey, I know I gotta build something that's going to be able to move the needle. So if you're in your 9 to 5, the time that you're maximizing has to be used to move the needle. What's the needle? The needle is how much money do I need to be able to pay my bills to sustain the lifestyle that this job is taking care of. So I got to incorporate revenue. So go ahead and put that. Incorporate revenue, medical and dental and insurance, right? And then all the other stuff. So look at all the perks, all the benefits. And then what I want you to also do is, because a lot of people don't incorporate, right? You'll just do a single member LLC and don't elect to build S Corp because you're not making enough revenue. And if that's the case, you're still going to have to pay 15.3% on top of what you're making as 9 to 5, right? And this is just a cushion. It's because once you're self-employed, this is not tax advice. Once you're self-employed and you're doing certain things as a LLC, single member, you're still going to get taxed as a regular person. But being that you got self-employment income, every dollar you make, you got to pay 15.3 cents in self-employment tax. And the self-employment tax is basically your Social Security and your Medicaid. So what happens is when you got Social Security and Medicaid as an employee, your job is responsible for paying half of it, and you're responsible for paying the other half. But when you go to your when you go to your business, what happens is you got to pay both because you're the employee and the employer. So you got to pay both to meet that 15.3%. So just know that every $100 you make, $15.30 is going to the government in taxes for self-employment tax. So that means that if you're making $100,000 on your job, you're not even paying the other half of that self-employment tax, right? Because you're just paying your portion of the you're paying your portion of the Social Security and Medicaid. The company's paying the other half. So just make sure that you keep that in mind. So it's not like if I'm making 100,000 here, I just need to make 100,000 on my business. It's because the company is still compensating the other half of that Social Security and Medicaid. So just make sure that you have to make that as well on top of their portion of the benefits. And just because you're paying $300 a month for insurance on your job doesn't mean that your employer is not covering the other $600 a month on your job as well. So you want to make sure that you cover that difference there. So whatever your insurance is, you want to make sure that you triple that. So if you're paying $300 a month for insurance, you want to go ahead and compensate yourself for $900 and make sure that you're earning that before you just say, I'm going to leave my 9 to 5. And what people normally do is in that 6 hours from when it's time to leave that 9 to 5, if they get off at 4 o'clock, they find ways from 4:30 to 11:30 or 4:30 to 10:30 or 4:30 to 11 o'clock or whatever time is your bedtime to create a pattern to be able to get that, right? And so now what happens is you got time and then you got how much revenue I need to be able to make, right? So now once those are good, let's say if I'm working and I'm making 40,000, 50,000 a year, right? And I want to leave my 9 to 5 because I just don't have the freedom. Don't leave your 9 to 5 if you want more time to be able to do stuff. Because let me go ahead and tell you, the freedom is good to be able to do what you want to do, but you won't have the time. And the reason why you won't have the time is guess why? Because entrepreneurs leave 40 hours a week to work 80 hours a week to be able to generate the revenue that they generate. So you want to make sure that you're careful there, right? So now you know how much time that you need to put aside. You need to maximize that time. The only time you would know that it's time to actually leave your 9 to 5 is when your 9 to 5 is getting in the way of your business. And so some people say, yeah, coach, I'm motivated, I'm dedicated. My 9 to 5 just in the way, I'm finna leave. And I said, okay, well, it's good to see that you're making so much money that you can replace your revenue, you can replace the insurance, you can go ahead and replace the self-employment taxes. I can't do none of that. I just believe in myself, coach. And I'm like, so what have you been doing with the 5-6 hours that you have when you're not working? So you mean to tell me just magically, if you haven't created a business that can generate revenue in the free time that you got, you think just magically because you leave your 9 to 5, you're going to be able to generate revenue? I never understood that. And the answer is always no. The answer is always, I'm about to go in panic mode now because it's not as easy as I thought. And I'm about to go in panic mode because, coach, why didn't you tell me it's a recession? Even though you kept going live and you told me for a whole year that the recession would come and how it's going to come, why didn't you tell me this? And I said, well, I did tell you. I told you to not leave your 9 to 5 until you can fully maximize the time and you got some kind of motion going. Y'all know what motion means? That means that you got momentum. They call it motion now, right? That means you got something going on that's producing results for you, making you that person, right? So now the way that you will build your business is build it around the time that you have free. And so now let's say if I work a 9 to 5 or a 7 to 3 or 7 to 4 and I get off and I start 4:30 taking calls, going live, building my list, serving people, and then creating platforms and creating things to be able to offer, right? Start my merchandise store, whatever, right? Let's say I start my business, marketing company, whatever, right? So I start my business, and then now when I look around from 4:30 all the way to 11 p.m., now I can't take more calls. And now the only thing that's standing in my way is carving out more time because I've been on the phone, I've been servicing people, I've been literally making revenue and running my business all the way to 10:30, and then 10:30 I'm burnt out because now I got kids, now I got got to give my wife her time, go cuddle, do whatever, right? But then now I realize, well, nobody's going to be able to take a call at 11. Maybe I can go ahead and service my West Coast clients because they 3 hours, because 11 o'clock here is maybe 8. I can probably squeeze it into 11 if I can. But let's say this, now the time is in the way. Now I don't have anything. So then what I would do is say, well, let me go ahead and squeeze calls in on my lunch break. So now if my lunch break is like 11 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock from 10 to 11, now I'm going to maximize that first. Don't leave your job until you maximize your lunch break, till where you literally don't have no other time whatsoever but to leave the 9 to 5. So then if you look around, now I want y'all to, don't hear me the wrong way. Oh, coach, I'm busy in those times. I'm doing calls. But if you're not producing revenue, then all you're going to do is produce more busy work. And we call that treadmill work. Put that in the comments. Treadmill work. Treadmill work means that you're doing a lot of stuff and not going nowhere. And a lot of people are doing treadmill work because they're staying busy and they think that's productivity, and it's not. So if you can't turn revenue, you can't turn a system into revenue with your free time, all you're going to do is just use more treadmill time or have more treadmill work going on, and that's not going to be productive to you at that point. So you got to make sure you're careful there, right? So now, in order to prevent treadmill work, you got to be able to produce results and produce a schedule, because that's the most important thing. You can't just start a 9 to 5. I mean, you can't just start a corporation or start a little company when you don't even have the proper structure. And we're not talking about full business structure in there. We're going to get in there in a whole nother video, right? But what we're talking about is, if you don't say, hey, I'm making $200 a day or $100 a day by doing this, these are my revenue producing hours, right? RPH, right? So my revenue producing hour, right? So now if I got my revenue produced, it's like miles per hour, right? But revenue producing hours is RPH, not MPH. So now that means that, hey, between this time and this time, I do sales calls. If you're a salesperson and you got a product that you can actually help people with, this time to this time, I do marketing. What you would do is, all you would do when it's time to leave that 9 to 5 and go into your corporate, you would slide that schedule in. You will literally just go ahead and slide that schedule. So you'll start moving them 9 o'clock calls that you used to have to like 6 or 4 p.m. So the way that you would do it is, the early thing, whatever you're doing at 4:30, you would do, you would still probably do after lunch. Now the difference is, and this is where a lot of people who work their 9 to 5s do. You'll work at 9 to 5, you get off at 4 o'clock or whatever, or you're 8 to 4, whatever. You get off at 4:30, you start making calls. And the reason why you start making calls is, most people that you're servicing probably still in their 9 to 5. So now they're up, they're working, they're productive. But then what you forget is, you start trying to shift that schedule into 8 in the morning, because that's the beginning of your day when you start your business. But nobody's up. Nobody wants you to call them at 8 o'clock, because the average person is actually working, right? And so now what you would do is, you would say, okay, well, let me see what's the most productive to start moving into the corporation side. Because now, what if I did my marketing in the morning? What if all of my Facebook, my TikTok, and all my posts from YouTube and everything that I do, I could start putting that out there to let that gain traction from 8 to 10 in the morning. Right. And so now what you did is, you shifted it to where you can say, all right, my revenue producing. So I got my marketing, I got my customer service, I got all of my stuff. This is, granted, you don't have any employees, because most people don't when they leave in their 9 to 5. Right. So now I would say, hey, anything after noon, I would start replacing everything I did when I got out of my 9 to 5. And I would slide that from noon to 5. So now let's say if you was doing 4:30 to 10 o'clock, that's 5.5 hours. So now from noon to 5:30 is my same 5.5 hours. I just shifted. Now the way that I would actually grow it is, because I can drive marketing and things like that to it. I would go ahead and shift that from like 8 to 12. So now that you got before noon are things that cost the business to be able to grow. And then now from afternoon, you will be able to do things that cost the business to generate revenue. And when I say grow, I'm talking about brand growth. I'm talking about people knowing who you are. I'm talking about, just people knowing who you are and things like that. Oh man, that's dope. I got a heart. So I don't know where y'all can leave hearts at, but yeah, keep giving your boy hearts. I appreciate that. Anyway, so now what you want to make sure that you do is, you want to create a plan, and then you want to go ahead and mark out that plan. And I think a lot of people get distracted when you start looking at other entrepreneurs who seem and tell you these stories like, hey, I left my 9 to 5 and I just did this. Let me go ahead and tell you, Most of the people that y'all followed that came with that story just created courses, and they had a good month selling courses, and they generated some revenue. But you would notice every time you look around, they're literally trying to sell you a new course. So when they're telling you that I left my 9 to 5 and started my business, no, they created a course that they sold after they left their 9 to 5 that helped them stay afloat. And then now they was good marketers to make that course sale go up, and they generated a bunch of money in a short amount of time. Is that a business? No, because nobody will come in and actually buy that, right? But did it produce revenue? Yes. So now what you need to do is create a plan to exit. And that's a plan that they use that might not work for you, right? So now you might have something that you can help with people with in the form of a course, but you got to also look at the market. When courses were selling, people had $20,000 in their pocket and a bunch of time on their hand. What do people have now? Most people are still in their 9 to 5, right? And they probably don't have the time on their hand, and they don't have free revenue, which means that the course sales are down 90% for everybody. And we're not talking about just somebody, but literally almost everybody, right? So what you want to do is not look at a 2-year course that you bought from 2 years ago of somebody showing you how to leave a 9 to 5, because I'm willing to bet you it don't work right now. It's a whole different era. It's a whole different market, right? And I'm not saying it won't work for everybody. I'm just saying it's probably not going to work for 90 to 95% of the people. You can do that and you can go that route, but I'm just trying to help you. Now you can try to prove me wrong, but don't come and say, why didn't you warn me? And the reason why is because now that worked for them to be able to generate some revenue through a course sale, now create a cushion so that they'll have time to build their business out. And that's what a lot of people are doing. But now most people don't have that cushion right now. So you got to create a plan. So some people's plan is create a course to generate revenue, to give me enough time to start my business. Who want to know the difference between a course sale and a business? I hope y'all already know the difference between that, right? Shakala, you know the difference? Mike Slaughter, what's going on? Nika, what's going on? Trista. Okay, praise. Ara Fit. That's my boy Poochie, I think. Kiatra, what's going on, Jackie? Donna, Jasmine. So y'all ain't gonna put nothing in the comments. I'm asking y'all that. You're right about that, praise. So Chicago said, treadmill workers, when you do a lot of work and not going anywhere, just making more busy work for yourself that is not productive. You had to produce revenue on your schedule. Yeah, because even though treadmill work will keep you fit and it'll keep you, it releases dopamine because you're staying busy and you feel productive. But when you look at your bottom line, you're going to say, well, who did I help move the needle and where did I move the needle at? And if you didn't move the needle or didn't help anybody to move the needle, you didn't build an ecosystem. Jackie Brown, what's going on? Every time I see Jackie Brown name, I start thinking about what's that guy named the singer? He got that song Jackie Brown, Brent Fayez. All right, so look, that's the thing. So you need to create your plan, and now you gotta realize you gotta cover 4 things. I was just saying, tell me if y'all ready for the 4 things. Okay, Jasmine, there you go. Of course, it's similar to a product. Once it's created, you're now just marketing to push sales. All right. So now it's a business. So what's the difference between a course sale and a business? And I'm not telling you not to sell a course, because if you went through something and you feel like you got a solution to solve a problem for somebody, then you package that solution up and then you offer it to somebody. And most of the time products sell themselves, because if you can produce the result and get that result and get a testimonies on that result, and then you'll probably be able to produce it to more people. A business can be scaled to continue growing. There you go. So y'all know when I be saying dancing bears, all dancing bears aren't bad, right? We're gonna talk about like the term dancing bears, and then like how some dancing bears can kind of be a little rough. But anyway, and I'll be following scripture a lot when it comes to like a lot of these business principles as well, because the typical definition of a dancing bear came from car dealerships and tax offices during tax time, right? Say, hey, coach, my Android been tripping. Don't try to lie on Android, Keisha. Come on now. You know that's an iPhone is tripping. Don't be trying to blame Android. Because Keisha said, I think Keisha definitely got an iPhone. Talking about the Android tripping. Because YouTube is a Google platform and so is Android. Anyway, I love that. You can continue to scale a business, but of course, it's limited to maybe one upsell at best. I mean, some people have a million upsells, right? So, the regular definition of a dancing bear, and we'll get into like how that's important. And because a lot of people who are trying to leave their 9 to 5 spent a lot of money following the dancing bears, and then they was like, well, I'm not getting the same results. So I feel like I lost a bunch of money because Dancing Bears gave you the hope that you can just do this one time and you ain't got to really go through the process because I sold you the fact that I did it. And then now if I sold you the fact that I did it and you can do it too, then you're going to try it and then you're going to automatically think it's going to be fast, right? So that's where you got to be careful at. But the Dancing Bear original thing came from like car dealerships and tax offices, right? When you go outside and it's tax time, especially around January, you'll go in the corner, you'll see a little dancing bear out there or a little Statue of Liberty thing. Well, that's probably an actual company to do that, right? But most people have the little dancing bears with the sign, and you be like, bro, you got to be out here wilding because they still be out there in March when they get back hot. But anyway, that means that now when that office has something to sell, that person is dancing to try to get your attention to sell something. And you're going about your business, they dancing in front of you, and then they say, hey, come here. And then you go in, and because you say, hey, I saw the bear out there dance. Or they'll have a new car out there that's wrapped, and then you'll go in front of the dealership, and the dancing bear will be like, hey, come on. And then when the dancing bear stop dancing, you're not going to look over there at the car dealership. That means that now if the bear don't dance, the company don't make money, right? So that means that it's really not a business that I can scale and sell, right? So that means that I have something to offer and I'm a dance to get your attention to come buy it. But now that's a way of marketing what the dancing bears do. What most people are doing now, the way that the dancing bear looks, is they're in front of a exotic car or a mansion, right? And then they would be or a private jet or whatever, right? They would be in front of all of that, and they don't necessarily be dancing, but they would give a story of how they overcame adversity to be able to get what they got. They're still dancing. They on social media dancing and saying, "Hey, it ain't always been like this. Let me go. I came through rough beginnings, and you know what I'm saying. When you out here like this, man, everybody ain't gonna clap for you. That's kind of what it sounds like, right? And so they don't really have the bear costume on, but what they do is they would normally get you into some kind of mentorship to follow the life that you want, because what they'll do is they'll play on the fact that you actually need something, which means a better life. And because you're looking for a better life, you're looking for somebody to guide you into that better life. And they reprogrammed a bunch of people in the ecosystem to say stuff like success leave clues. Now you're going to be looking for success. You're going to be looking for a clue. And the clue is going to come in the form of, hey, sign up for my free training where I'm going to tell you all of this motivational stuff about how hard it was to get you into some kind of upsell, into some kind of mentorship where I can show you how to get all of this money, all right? And so now what'll happen is when you do that, you'll be like, all right, that's amazing. I finally found them in the room, and I'm in the room with the people who are doing it, right? And so now what happens though is when you start doing that, there's nothing wrong, but it's mostly lifestyle marketing. There's a bunch of people who don't really live the lifestyle though. And when we're saying how much debt people are in, 90% of lifestyle marketers, the reason why they push so much stuff, luxury in front of you, is because that's the life that they really want to live. So they rent that life, and then they use that rented life to be able to sell something to you, but it's a rented life. So a business that's actually scaled that you can put people in place, right? Would actually, produce those results for you in the form of a business. But when the bear stops dancing, the courses stop selling. And when the courses stop selling, the dancing bear goes out of business because the courses is not selling. So now you will see a dancing bear jump with 20 Lambos or 10 or 5. And then now they, first they'll be a tour road coach or exotic rental coach. And then they'll be a business building coach the next week. And then they're going to be a transparent coach to get your life together. So what a dancing bear does is instead of actually building a business, they go and look at what the market needs and play on people's weakness and then try to offer it to them. Right. And then once they try to offer it to them, you'll purchase it. And then now they'll come back and say, look how much money I made from you purchasing my stuff. And if you want to make more money like me, let me show you how to get people to purchase your stuff. It's just a never ending cycle. It's crazy, right? So that's the difference. So what a dancing bear is, it's because we're in the mergers and acquisition space, right? So what'll happen is when we're looking at businesses to buy, we're looking at businesses that we want to invest in and things like that. The first thing that we look for is, can I move the person out of the business to selling it, and that business is still going to be able to produce those results? So if you're building a business that 100% requires you to be there, and that means that I can't buy your business, that means that that's a one-to-one business. And a one-to-one business just means that when they stop selling that one-to-one product, all the revenue stops. And so now what they'll do is they'll say, hey, well, I got a subscription model, because everybody's following the same thing. So that's why you got to be very careful. If you're trying to leave your 9 to 5, you got to look at what you're trying to do. So know that if you build everything around the chorus or the hot topic, that's not sustainable to be able to turn into a full-fledged business. You get what I'm saying? And so now what happened is, the opposite of like a dance and bear business would be an EBITDA business or SDK or something like that. So now what you want to do is you just want to make sure that you create a long-term solution, a long-term plan. For instance, I had a person who was working a 9 to 5 doing a certain thing. And then they said, well, I joined this program and I want to do this because these people was doing this in the program and making a bunch of money. I said, well, what have you been doing the last 15 years? Well, I've been doing this. Well, why you want to stop doing that? It ain't really no money. I said, well, the people who you work for are making money, right? Yeah, they making all the money. Why you say it wasn't no money? So why would you leave something that you got so many years of experience in, right? To go and start all the way back over at the bottom at something. When if I got all of the years experience somewhere, knowing that the people that I'm working for is making all the money, I might not be making it in my 9 to 5, but why would I go and try to be a CEO in a whole nother industry that I don't have the experience in? So now that if I know that my job is my first mentor, why wouldn't I learn from the job of how in the world can they pay me even when I'm only working for 10 hours out of the 40 and I'm on the phone the rest, or on Facebook on the rest? How in the world can they sustain that, paying me for 10 hours of productivity, and they rich and they doing this and they doing that? So I'm going to be on Facebook and I'm going to be watching all these people teach me, or YouTube or whatever, right? I'm going to be on here watching all these people teach me instead of learning from my first mentor. And my first mentor is my job. So if I can learn how in the world they hiring system. Some of y'all get hired on y'all job and don't document the system that hired y'all, because y'all so ready to get started. Y'all so ready to just get them bills paid that y'all got the job for. Did you forget to document the process that you went through? And then you get in the job and you complain. And then you start saying stuff like, man, I don't fool with them people at work, man. Supervisors suck, man. They be tripping, blah, blah, blah. Instead of saying, man, let me study the supervisor. Let me go ahead and study the management chain. Let me study all of them. Let me go ahead and just be nice to them. You can call it fake all you want to, because now let me go ahead and just figure out how they do things. Now, most people will literally bust their behind in that 9 to 5 just to be able to get promoted up, just to see how up the chain looks, so that they can go ahead and rebuild that later. Hypothetically, let's say if you're in an industry where you're doing, let's say if you're a teacher, you know how many teachers right now that's hitting me up, hey, coach, do you know I can make extra revenue at? And I said, well, what do you do? I'm a teacher. How long have you been teaching? 12 years. Do you like it? I really love working with the kids, but I hate the way that things are, the summer, blah, blah, blah. So now y'all know the way that my mind works. What do you think I would tell her? Because guess what the first thing that a school teacher who hits me up would say? Guess what a school teacher who hit me up would say? I want to get into Airbnb. I wanted to get into Turo. I want to get it. And I'm not saying nothing bad with them or anything, right? Markets be up and down everywhere, right? But what I can tell you though is if she's been creating curriculum, y'all say OnlyFans. Now that was funny. Definitely wouldn't tell her to do an OnlyFans, right? Unless she's putting education on there. But why wouldn't you start a tutoring service? You like teaching, you like kids, You're in the inner circle where we teach you how to hire virtual assistants that'll work for $5, $6 an hour, who literally have degrees in math, who have master's degrees in language arts, who have master's degrees here and there. Why wouldn't you have a person teaching and create a portal where they can create curriculum in there every day? And so now, if you're a teacher and you had a virtual assistant who's great with math, you can take similar 10th grade curriculum and then have them create ways to break down those math problems step by step, so that when it's documented into a video, you can create some kind of tutoring service that the parents can pay $29 a month to get their kids access in. This is just me. This is how I coach, right? So now, if you're charging $29 a month for a platform, and you got one tutor in there that's not a one-on-one tutor, but can break down math all the way from K through 12, their job for 8 hours a day, you get what I'm saying? Their job for 8 hours a day is creating math curriculum to be able to solve complex problems. The Pythagorean theorem, everything that you can think of all the way up. So that now when you're in a K through 12 program paying $29 to $59 to $199 to $499 a month for different for different levels of access, then guess what? You don't think those parents, because now you're the one that's building the relationship with the parents, they're following you, the kids are actually getting that level of help. But a lot of people don't even realize that the education in the Philippines, you got people that's teaching college. You got professors that we hire away from colleges that's not even making $5, $6 an hour in their college. That they're professors that will literally be a professor and create math curriculum, create language arts. And then now if your kid need another level of access where they can pay $199 a month to be able to meet one-on-one one time a week, $5.99 a month to be able to meet Monday through Thursday, and then have different language, you have different modules, right? So now that if you started a tutoring company, all you have to do is just make sure that those virtual assistants are tutoring and creating the modules. And then now, guess what? If they need that one-on-one help, they can book little small appointments, because now the ones that's paying $5.99 a month can book those little one-on-one appointments with you to go ahead and get it out. So now let's say if you got 20 clients, that's $5.99 a month, right? And then now they're getting that one-on-one help, but they got access to every single thing. You can literally point them into the direction of what module they can go into, and then let them go through it. They schedule the appointment with you one-on-one, and you can break it down for them. You get 20 clients at $600 a month. That's $12,000 a month just from the one-on-one clients you got. Now the $29 a month, the $59 a month program from the tutoring services that you built. But see, no, I don't want to do that, coach, because it's too hard. So now you got something that you love doing. You love kids. You've been doing 12 to 15 years. You want to go into a whole nother space that may or may not be oversaturated, that you're not the expert in, when you got a comfort zone in the way that you create curriculum, the way that you grade and work out with kids, and you want to completely go somewhere else when you're called to actually do that. You just don't know how to maximize the revenue there. And that's where a lot of people are doing. So there's a tutoring company called such and such. My daughter just started working for them, and they contact with the school system all around the world. I got a tutoring company, and I don't even do any of that we built with Ken. And the thing about it, you can build a tutoring company. So instead of your daughter working for a tutoring company, she could start one. I'm not trying to like knock what they're doing, but everything that she's doing with the tutoring company, guess what our tutors do? Guess what my son tutor does? She logs in, because now they got something called, I don't know if it's Infinite Campus. Kayla, what is that? What is it called? Okay, yeah, she said Infinite Campus. So DJ's tutors log in his Infinite Campus every single day. Anytime he's missing something, they send a report to us. Hey, this is what he's missing. And then now when he get on one-on-one with her, she already got everything there for him with it laid out. Hey, here's your assignments. This is what's missing. And then that's her one-on-one job as a tutor. So now if it's a certain subjects, or you can get an accountability tutor, because some of the kids are actually smart. They just don't get the work done. You get what I'm saying? So now what you would do is, but we're not talking about the tutor, and I'm just talking about things from your 9 to 5. You might not be a teacher. You might be a person that does this. You might be able to do deliveries and things like that, and saying, man, I hate my dispatcher, and not realizing that you can be a dispatcher. You get what I'm saying? So I need y'all to start thinking outside the box when it comes to leaving your 9 to 5 and stop trying to jump and do what everybody else is doing. Somebody else that made that popular. You guys are working in lanes that can dominate because you're the expert with your calling there, and you're leaving what you're assigned to do. And it's something that's triggered in your head that's saying, you hate this. And it's not necessarily that you hate your job, but what's irritating your spirit is you don't belong there. And because you don't feel like you belong there, it's something that's going to always irritate your spirit to saying, this is my calling. So that's why you got that school teacher that loves kids that hate her job because she's called to start a tutoring service to make it do the right way. What about the doctor of pharmacy, right? So if you're a doctor of pharmacy, I don't know about enough about pharmacy, but I guarantee you that there's something that you would be able to do. I don't know what you got to do to be able to create a pharmaceutical company. Now, I've had my research and development team create a bunch of companies, but a pharmacy company has not been one of them. So that might be something that I might have to look into, but director of pharmacy, my bad. I thought I said a doctor of pharmacy. Yeah, so I think what most people are doing is, if you look at what's called a hybrid model, put that in the chat, put that in the comments, hybrid model. And this is like one thing that you got to be able to identify trends before you can build wealth. The wealthy people just see where the patterns are going, and then they would create something. Think about wealth in every platform, in every step, in every area, right? If I had access to real estate in New York, in Brooklyn, and I knew that Brooklyn was going to go through the roof with real estate, and I had access to be able to buy brownstones, and I know most African American families own brownstones in New York, right? They probably had no idea where the world was going, but let's say they went ahead and bought all of those brownstones. It was a regular house. It was brownstone. It was built. It was dope, built tough, right? And it was in Brooklyn. What they didn't know is, if they would have held on to them, because they was way ahead of the time for that market, the stuff y'all calling gentrification, people are just getting their parking in place, waiting on it to rebound. But every market don't have to be that real estate market, right? A hybrid model, they use hybrid models in real estate, and then they jump in front of a trend. So, well, they'll jump in front of the trend in real estate, buy up something, wait on the market to be ready for it, and then skyrocket when the demand gets high. What people aren't thinking about is the hybrid model is, what can I create because I see where the trend is going, and trends are going to hybrid models. Trends are going away from traditional models because everybody like, oh man, I want a brick and mortar. I want this. They want to go back to the way times were when they wanted to be successful and they thought they weren't. Most of us, when we get money, we go back to live a life that we did want it when we couldn't afford it. That's why we go. That's why I went out and bought dumb stuff like exotic vehicles, right? It's because I really wanted them when I was in my 20s, when I wanted to be that dude. You get what I'm saying? But I couldn't do it at that time. You get what I'm saying? So a lot of us do that. So when we see the brick and mortar and we see the I done made it, that's what it looked like in the 90s. And you got some people going towards chasing that I made it from 10 years ago and forgetting about the future. And so now you don't understand hybrid model. So a hybrid model would be something like, and the people that jump in front of it and create the model for the hybrid model builds all the wealth. So they would say something like, the taxi industry is so dependent on a taxi stopping for somebody. But most people don't really want to talk to people. So how in the world can a person order a taxi without calling through their phone, waiting on a taxi to come, and then pay cash? The world is going digital because nobody want to pay cash. So what I would do is create a platform where a taxi can come and pick somebody up just from their phone app. And then now they created a taxi app for the taxis to say, I already made my money before I went and picked this thing up. And now I picked them up and they could tip me through the app. That happened first. And then they said, there's a way, because now we got an app. There's a way that people who are leaving a 9 to 5 or don't have a job, who also has access to a car, can make money picking people up, because now people don't want to be in a taxi that everybody's been in. Now what we can do is we can create technology so that the average person can make money going to give somebody a ride. Now, think about this. 20 years ago, ain't no way in the world you would have hitchhiked a stranger. 20 years ago, you would have not hitchhiked a stranger, right? There's no way in the world if somebody would have been in your car riding around, somebody would have been like, hey, can you run me somewhere? You'd have been like, no. But when you're on Uber, because you created an app, because they created a hybrid model app that a person who doesn't have a job needs money. So now I answered their demand because now all of the people who need money, which is all the jobs. See, we don't realize so many jobs are going away and so much technology is replacing ways to make money. So the traditional way to make revenue through a 9 to 5 is almost gone. Literally in the next 30, 40 years, it's going to almost be obsolete. But y'all are still trying to go and build that tradition. Anyway, ain't even gonna go there, right? Because some of y'all ain't gonna listen anyway. Y'all gonna follow a dancing bear and forget about me. But listen, what they did is they said, well, I understand where the market is going. I understand that there's no traditional jobs. I understand that people who don't watch these YouTube videos from Derrick Harper, they ain't say Derrick Harper, but from Derrick Harper and his Facebooks where he trying to warn people, those are the people who are gonna lose their jobs and need money. Because they're not going to get coaching. They're not going to listen, right? And so they're going to need money. So I'm going to create a way for them to get money. And people will do anything for money. So they'll hitchhike. They'll give people who want to hitchhike rides a ride. And now that I know this, the people who would have never jumped in the car with a stranger because they only trusted taxi cabs, we realize that now, yes, people do trust technology more than they trust humans. See, if somebody would have jumped online and tried to sell you something or tell you something years ago, you wouldn't have believed them because you didn't believe technology. Now people believe and are invested in technology more than the human world, right? So you speak to more people on Facebook than you do in your own community. I don't know my neighbors. And if I went and knocked on my neighbor's door, I'd probably get met with a pistol or a gun right now. People do not want to talk to people unless it's through technology. See, I'm telling y'all this, but y'all gonna try to beat the system and then wonder why it's not working. No, you're not right, blah, blah, blah. Keep trying to build with the people there. That's 100% up to you, right? I'm not here to argue, but what I am here to tell you is the people who do figure the trends out, jump in front of it and create the solution so that when the problem happens and people lose all of their jobs, then you would have an Uber. You get what I'm saying? And so now the person that would have never hitchhiked the ride trusts technology. Now the person that had to go ahead and upload their driver's license, upload their tag number, can literally send you a message and say, hey, look at Derrick with a picture of Derrick with his tag number. Look for this tag number. And then they're going to pull up in this type of car. So now that when you go in your app, click a button, nobody knows you're clicking a button because you didn't have to call. And then boom, money has been exchanged. And they took that from the taxi industry when the taxi industry was trying to advance. But guess what they was trying to advance to? The taxi industry was trying to improve an industry that they was moving, the world was moving away from. And if you know that the world is moving away from it and you see trends like, yeah, I don't know my neighbors, and more people are talking online and technology and more people doing that. And then you decide that you want to go back into the world and fix the world where the world, your environment is going to change you 100 times faster than you can change it because the people around you are going to change, right? And you can call it being strong-minded. Hey, the government trying to do this. It's going to happen because the way that I can change you is change the 10 people around you. And you automatically going to follow suit. Even if you don't want to follow suit, you just don't want to be the weirdo and now fear of missing out. We understand that's the biggest thing because technology is changing everybody around you, forcing you to change. So, okay, coach, what do I do about this? Now you got to understand how hybrid models work. Where is the world going? A lot of people are about to lose their job. The government is not announcing it right now because they don't want you to panic. If you stop panicking right now or start panicking, you're not going to spend money on anything. The smart ones are spending money on education because they're learning trends, they're learning patterns, and they're learning data, right? The old world and the way that things were done is almost gone. The way that the world is going to now, if you think about that concept from getting that brownstone before the market develops there to be able to sell them for so much money, it's because I had everything in place so that when the market was almost perfect for it, I can sell it for the price that I want to sell it. My question to you is, if I'm thinking about leaving my 9 to 5, what can I bring to an industry that I hate or a job that I hate to make it better, to make it more convenient for people? And I'm going to tell you, the next 25 to 30 years, your grandkids are not going to go to school the same way that you went to school. Everything is going to be virtual. Pastors are not going to be able to pastor their church the same way because now people are going to be mobile. people are going to be moving to the Costa Ricas. They're going to be moving to the Panamas. They're going to be moving to the different countries all the way around the world, jumping up online, selling a $10 product, being able to fund their lifestyle. And if you think I'm lying, you don't know enough about history. Because now when you go into Detroit, when you go into Brooklyn, when you go into those cities and you say, what did they do with those poor people that was homeless? See, homelessness, a lot of times when it's not connected to mental health, just means that you might have, and see, some of y'all call these people crazy, but they're not. They just displaced. And what displaced means is, I want my home. I remember you might have a person that went to prison at 25, got a 20-year bid, got out at 45, came back to a Brooklyn that was not the same Brooklyn, but that's all he knew. So he stuck around, tried to make it work. Prices skyrocketed. Stuck around, tried to make it work. That's all he knew. Family probably don't deal with him or gone right now. So now you get people that might have got caught in the drug epidemic. See, we don't understand the drug epidemic was bigger than just people overdosing and losing money. It was people that got displaced in that. And so now when it turns into homelessness, those are just people who that's home to them. But see, the world moves so fast. Have you ever went into an environment and say, I don't even know what this is no more. I don't fit in. That's the world now. So their reality is, I don't know what's going on. I don't fit in, right? So now when they do that and they understand that they don't fit in, they just get stuck. So now you got a bunch of people that got caught up in the drug epidemic that literally got put at a standstill. They didn't advance with the times and they stuck around like, man, I picked the worst time of my life to mess up. I picked the worst time of my life to get addicted to drugs. Now I'm stuck. I didn't even advance. I didn't learn. They didn't have YouTube where you can come in and get educated. They didn't have none of that. And then now imagine a person having this, and it looks like more people are successful now. It's just more people got access to it. But imagine the people that got access to it that don't take advantage of it, that don't listen, that don't pay attention. Just like those people when they got on drugs, when you say drugs are bad, man, it's going to kill you. Got to die something one day. And then now you're stuck around at 65. You're on the corner in a city that you remember being yours, and people walking by like, why are you in the way? And you looking at them like, you in my area. Okay, let me take it back hundreds of years. Why you think bears pop up in people's backyard? A bear. Why you think that animals popping up in people's yard? Because we been built in these kingdoms where they used to live, and then now we running bears and running everything off, not realizing the world and evolved. And those bears are looking like, where do I got to go? That's why these animals run around scared. It's just a whole kingdom. I know some of y'all ain't even gonna catch this. I hope this ain't over y'all head. I'm just trying to make examples, right? So now when you got went into and cut all these trees down and put all these houses there, and a bear run out in the middle of nowhere, and you're trying to shoot a bear, and the bear looking at you like, bro, this is our area. You looking like, get off my yard. Bear came in my yard, right? That's literally what's happening with the homeless people in the New Yorks and the Detroits. And all that happened is they done went up on the cost of everything because now it's a market for it that's causing everything to be high. And then now they can't no longer afford it, and they don't have anywhere to go. Now, this is not a scare tactic. This is serious. And this is where I try to get real. Let's get intimate right now, right? Pause. But let's get real intimate. And I need people to be very transparent, because I can't preach, teach, or do anything to anybody that don't have a level of transparency. And when you're not transparent, because somehow social media got people where it's not okay to share your transparency because you're scared of what people might think of you if they find out that you're in a worse area than you portray online. And what y'all don't realize is you lost the connection that was supposed to be sent by God to you because they didn't see God in that transparency, because you failed to be transparent when you're supposed to be solving somebody's problem, right? So now think about this. And I need y'all to be transparent, because I need y'all to think. I'm not selling y'all anything. If your 9 to 5 goes away right now, cold turkey, if you walk in tomorrow and they say, hey, we sorry, and you go put on the door, because let's go back. Let's take it back real tactical. You walk in your 9 to 5 and the doors are locked, and you find out they done bankrupted. Now they ain't even got to pay your last check, right? And you get paid, you're supposed to get paid Friday, tomorrow, Thursday, and the doors are locked. And then there's a letter out there saying, we sorry we had to close the plant. And y'all like, well, what about our jobs? And then now a rep might come up and say, we sorry. Well, they'll HR reach out to y'all, blah, 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 right? How many people are prepared? No, let's make it easier. How many people are not prepared? How many people are not prepared to be comfortable in the life after being told that? If you were to walk in tomorrow and they tell you that there's no work and they don't know when your last check gonna happen, who is not prepared? So this is what I be meaning when I say I'm trying to be obedient and make sure that I reach out and see those, because the people who are putting me are who the ones I'm talking to. And all I'm trying to do is not be liked. I don't care about being liked. I'm trying to have a person really sit and think. You get what I'm saying? Am I really prepared? Not only just with the job, but if I walk in to the job and the door's closed, can I immediately turn around and go to the bank right now, do a shotgun method online and get $100,000 in credit that can keep me afloat to at least I start my business and have a cushion there or something like that? So now imagine not being prepared to be able to make ends meet for the next 3 months. Imagine not using that free time that you had in between your 9 to 5 and bedtime to build anything. And then imagine not even being able to go to the bank or go online and get, do the shotgun method and get $70,000 to $100,000 in funding that'll be able to keep you afloat. So now I have no way to get revenue. I have no revenue coming, and I don't understand. That's where you start to realize how dangerous it is right here in this society. So what Uber did is they created a platform for people who weren't prepared, who lost a 9 to 5, because right now, if you got a car and you lost that, 90% of y'all will probably go and turn that Uber app on. Be honest. How many of y'all, if y'all lost y'all 9 to 5 tomorrow and there was nothing out there, would go and literally turn your Uber app on? Stephanie, you're not giving up. Stephanie said, I know what it's like. I'm so exhausted, ready to give up. Stephanie, join the free Facebook group. I'm literally, with this assignment, we're not going to let nobody give up. I done been in that closet about to blow my brains out. We're not giving up. It's not going to happen. Not on my watch. And the level of exhaustion just means it's time to pay attention. Because I've been live so many times, and sometimes people only reach out. Right? People only reach out after all hell done broke loose. Coach, I'm about to lose everything. Man, blah, blah, blah. And it ain't even about what they bought from me, right? It's just, but when I do look, and I'm like, dang, you really just bought one thing? And I'm grateful for that, because, dang, they saw enough value to do that. And then they say, well, I ain't in position to do it. You just say you lost your job. Yeah, I wasn't making enough money to do this. Well, what were you doing? So that ain't time for me to lecture, but what it's time to say is, then when I go in there, because it's like, okay, you brave enough to hit me up in my inbox for money. Now I got to see if you actually open your course. And then it's like, you ain't even open the course. Why in the world would I continue to loan you something? You didn't even open one course. That means that you never prepared yourself to not be in a position to ask. But the emergency happened, and you like, hey, for instance, I'm going to be very, very transparent. I want to say thank you for the people that poured into me, right? There are some people that poured into me because I give. We raised about $2,245. By the time I was able to tell everybody thank you, because I just made a post because I was talking to my spiritual mentor, because I give all the time, right? I done gave hundreds of thousands to people in need, right? And I think people they always want to say, hey, I know everybody hitting you up, and then they still continue to try to hit you up. I'm okay with that, because I know how to not if I don't. But I made a post and said, well, hey, I was about to give up, because it's draining when people do that and then not pouring back in, right? So I made a post about that, and I say, and I'm going somewhere with this. This is very important, right? You're going to get a really big lesson here. So I made a post and I said, hey, thank y'all. Or I said, hey, I talked to my spiritual mentor about being like drained and being weary of like, am I really just wasting my time with people or do that? And he says, because you don't let nobody pour back into you. And when you don't allow nobody to pour back into you, your cup doesn't get refilled. And he literally used this example. He said, because if you pour out and continue to pour out, what'll start happening is people will hit you up. And then now you done pour it out. And then when it's time to do anything, you're like, wow, I don't have anything to pour left. And then people are going to abandon you. And that's what you're scared of. But if you're not continuously allowing people while you're pouring out to pour back into you, you're going to let them kill the kingdom. Because if you're truly on this assignment, you got to let people pour back into you. And if people pour back into you, that's the fuel to keep going, to keep pouring back into people. And then what starts to happen is the more that they pour back into you, now when people pop up and they need, you can keep pouring in. But what happens if you got to be careful, because if you create an environment where nobody actually pours back into you and you're pouring out, then now you're going to be depressed. And if God called you to lead, you got an obligation to go figure things out, to be able to lead so they can follow. And if you allow yourself to pour out and not get poured back into, then you're going to be empty. And then you can't even be used in the kingdom because you weren't obedient. And I was like, wow. So I made a post, right? And when I made that post, people poured into me at $2,247. And I was typing it up to say thank you, right? And by the time I said thank you, my inbox was flooded because people knew that other people was pouring into me. And literally everybody and their mom said, I'm about to lose everything. I'm about to lose everything. And I'm about to lose everything. And I still just started pouring back into people, right? So now I literally poured right back into people. And then I looked around and said, dang, of course they poured into me at 2247, but I'm still 500 in the hole from. So I ended up giving 27 something. But no, that's not a bad thing, right? It just showed though that the way that the kingdom is built, because maybe somebody's life did get touched. Maybe we did stop somebody from abandoning their family. Maybe we did stop somebody, because guess what one of the testimonies was? And it was just a $250 cash out that I gave somebody who showed a picture of me and them at a conference. And they said, hey, King, I'm going through some things right now. I ain't trying to go back to prison. This is how my bank account looking. This is my fridge. And I get it. I get them all the time, right? But that don't mean I'm in a position to pour all the time, right? But what I can tell you, though, is it felt good to be able to pour out something that I had poured into me. You get what I'm saying? It felt good to be able to pour out something that was poured into me. And that was the first time where I poured and poured and poured like that, where I didn't feel bad, because it wasn't me pouring, it was the kingdom pouring into somebody. Now think about this though. If they don't reciprocate, they don't ever go pour into anybody, they're going to immediately get blocked out of the environment. I don't have to do it. I just got to become obedient, right? So the thing about it is I made that post, and by the time I got it out, more people was in my inbox about their struggles than anything. So when people poured into me though, and let's say if my cup started here and people poured into me, and this is the community, and this is the cup that they poured into, because this is me. And when people start pouring into me, what starts to happen with the kingdom below is overflow happens. And then now when overflow starts to happen, and because they pouring in, let's just go ahead and assimilate it this way, that they pouring in and pouring in and pouring in, because I'm still serving and I'm still pouring, and they continue to pour in and continue to pour in. Because now if you got me trying to build a kingdom, people come along, these are the people in the kingdom still pouring in. I'm pouring out as they pour in, because it's not me trying to fill the cup and fill 10 cups and take to-go cups because of me. What I'm going to continue to do is keep pouring out as they pour in. And then when you start to look around, you'll be able to say, wow, it's not even just me with overflow. Look how much the kingdom got. You see how much the kingdom is actually leveling up. You see how much that was good timing on that, Chicago, too. So now look how much the kingdom got, and now the kingdom got abundance. And then when the kingdom got abundance, they can start creating programs, they can start creating things. That's how churches create pantries. But see, some of y'all don't even put money in the church, and y'all take from the pantry every month. And then y'all take from the pantry, then you get your income tax and go out of town and blow it somewhere in Vegas or Miami and never pour back into what poured into you. And then you wonder why the church ain't working for you. It's not that the church ain't working for you because that's their assignment. It's the fact that never try to eat from an environment that you didn't plant a seed in. And because what happens is when I did that video about poverty being a formula, the reason why I know that poverty is a formula, the only formula to poverty is if you got more people taking from that environment to pouring into, it's a poverty-stricken area. If you got more people giving to that environment than they asking the environment from, then you have an abundant area. Have y'all realized that the reason why your home value is probably still stuck at $80,000 is because nobody's building there? And when you take the principles of building, everybody wants to invest where people are building at. It's called fertile soil. And when you got fertile soil, the value of that soil and the value of that area goes up if we're talking real estate. So now when you produce fertile soil to prepare for the things that's actually coming, just like in those brownstones, when the environment and the market changes for the people who got in place and built things in the environment to produce, you get what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? Are y'all following that? Are y'all following that? I really hope y'all following that. So if you want to be able to grow somewhere and you want to be able to eat from something, stop taking more than you give to it. Did you know how bad I felt to even drop my cash out? Somebody came on my post and was like, wow, bro, you on here trying to get over on the people, man, blah, blah, blah. And it hit me like, wow. I remember when people used to always make these bad videos about the pastors and this and that, because of course the pastor ain't perfect. They the person who's supposed, and I'm not a pastor, I'm just saying, of course the pastor ain't perfect. But the reason why your church ain't working for you is because you're probably the one that's never given. You probably don't even pay tithes. You probably ain't even giving nothing in the offering. You going to Miami when it's up. You taking. And then if so they ain't recruiting you, because if more of you come in to take, you see those churches that ain't growing. You see the churches where they gotta literally beg the congregation to pay the bills for the church. Just the church. Pastor got to go out and get a whole 9 to 5 and then put his money into the kingdom that they're trying to build. So if you got an abundance of people who are taking more than giving, then now why in the world, if I want to grow, think about that. I just need y'all to stay with me for a while because y'all be dropping off so fast. Whatever y'all, this message is so for y'all. And if y'all dropping off, maybe it ain't. But think about it from this standpoint. And I'm not trying to set y'all up to sow into me. I'm not a pastor, right? I was just talking about the principles of that. Because y'all, my job is to get y'all to go out and build environments, right? But the lesson I learned in that is when you're pouring into everybody else, don't forget to get poured into, because now you're being disobedient when you don't know how to get poured into. Because when you can't keep saying stuff like it's about all of us, and then people don't pour back into you. So think about it from this standpoint. If you're not allowing, and see, like I said, I teach it as I get it. If you're not allowing people to pour into you, though, because I was so disobedient. My ego means edging God out. So it wasn't about pouring into me because I realized it ain't mine. You get what I'm saying? So let's think about this principle though. And I hope I don't lose y'all. Think about this principle though. And I'm not asking y'all for no money, trust me, because some of y'all be so like, oh, he got, and then y'all run being so disobedient, right? But think about this though. What if you pray for a way out? Because everybody that you've been around are takers. We're not gonna get about, oh, they jealous. They all that jealousy stuff, that's just comes from a taker environment. The wording and the nastiness and all that. It's just that if you got we call it poverty stricken because it's an easy word because a lot of people want to run from the biblical principles of it, right? But when you got more takers, some might say, hey, you're on welfare. Well, I ain't here to be liked. Somebody call it welfare. Somebody call it you're in an environment where you're taking. Well, hey, if they're gonna pay me and they ain't got to put nothing into this world and I'm gonna be taken care of, take it, right? Might be in a position to such and such. I'm not judging. I came up, we had Section 8. That's fine. All I'm saying is just look around. You would understand the kingdom principles if you just look around and stop wanting to argue. Listen, I know what I'm sitting to tell y'all. So if you look around and when you look at the formula for poverty, anything that's evil happens in a poverty-stricken environment. And I've been trying to quote some scriptures without going way on the deep end because what changed my life and the way I see people and things, I'm trying to peel it back so that y'all can see the way I do things, right? So if you've been praying for something, because some people are going to be praying for you. The things that you're going through now, you think that it's a struggle, but it's preparation. You think it's punishment, it's preparation. It's for you to figure out to create the solution for somebody. We talked about that, right? Go back to the other videos. We talked about that. I don't want to spend too much time on that. But somebody's going to pray for you. And we're not talking about praying that you be good. They're going to pray for you to show up. They don't know it's you yet, right? And somebody said one of the biggest bars, if God came back or Jesus came back, we wouldn't even know him. A lot of people wouldn't know him because they're looking for perfect people. Right. Anyway, so now let's think about this. You're going through a struggle. You had to go through all you had to go through to become who you are now. And then now you've been obedient. So God gonna send you the people to help because people have been praying. And then now the reason of everybody can't go, watch the scripture and how it works. When you pray, you got grace, you got favor, you got mercy. They all three things. Grace is when you know that you don't qualify or you know it should have been over and he kept you. Favor, it ain't something that you necessarily had to do. But sometimes when people are called to be able to do something, favor happens even when you didn't do anything to inflict that favor. Mercy is when God knows your heart. And now the stuff that you're going through, it didn't kill you. So when you think mercy, think Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. You get what I'm saying? And I hear my bishop all the time. Sometimes you're going to come out that fire and you ain't even going to smell like smoke, right? But when you understand those three things, right? And you would understand how certain people are called to be able to serve you. I know who I'm called to serve, right? Y'all like, oh, Derrick doing. No, I'm assigned to y'all, rather if I want to be or not. Sometimes y'all piss me off. I'm not even gonna lie. Sometimes I can't stand y'all. And because if y'all don't want me to be transparent, I don't want to be here. Sometimes I really get so frustrated with y'all, right? But I know that I'm assigned to y'all. So I got to be obedient, right? So, but think about this though. I literally got a couple calls of people about to blow their brains out, about to kill themselves. But if I had never overcame that to be able to tell how life looks after that, I wouldn't have been obedient. Yeah, Sergino, I'm live on YouTube. So now you're going to be called to serve. Like the things you're going through now, if you listen to the obedience in it, if you listen to what God is trying to tell you and the things you're going through now, see, because you prayed for something, right? And you got a problem. Or you identify, things start coming more clear. And then now you go down that path and you're like, oh my God, it's working. Like, wow, I just had to look at it different, right? And then people are going to look and say, well, what in the world happened to your life? Like, how in the world? Because, see, you're going to be making posts. You're going to be doing this. Your friends going to hate on you. See, forget all these human terms. Friends hate you, lose family. You know that happened. It ain't got nothing to do with friends hating and losing family. I'm going to tell you what's happening there, though. you're just losing people that don't see what God is doing for you in your life. It's not, I started my business and that. No, you looking at it as a business, but you started your assignment. You might call it a business. You call it your assignment, and God moving people out the way that's going to distract that assignment. It can be family. They hating and block. No, you already know what it is. This is because somebody been praying for you. That divorce might have had to happen. That prison sentence might had to happen. Because your assignment really gonna be in full circle 10 years down the road, and God had to sit you down because you was gonna destruct. You was literally gonna self-destruct. But let's say because somebody been praying. Somebody been praying, right? And so now God fixes you in the time where they actually ready to receive you. And so now you level up and become a different person. Somebody might say, oh man, you doing good, your house, your car, whatever. So God gonna do whatever he can do to make them see you to where we start saying, oh, they hating on us. It ain't hate. You get what I'm saying? God gonna let them see you different. And then the people who supposed to see you are gonna say stuff like, I watch people try to tear you down over and over and you kept going. I watch you lose your husband or your spouse and you kept going. I watch you lose your parents and you kept going. I watch you lose this and that and kept going. I watch people try to attack you. I watch people slander your character. I watch people do all of that. And then now you get to the point where there's nobody out here who could take credit for your success, but who? Because now it's certain people that if it didn't happen that way and you couldn't take credit from God, wouldn't have found God. Because it ain't like God can come down here and be like, find me. Because we so disobedient, it's bad. So now think about it from this standpoint. The people who watching you go through all that are going to realize that you were called and assigned to them. And now you have a responsibility not to renege on that assignment. And then guess what starts to happen though? When you make a commitment to make a flow to the people and say, God, it ain't mine. I'm going to run this whole kingdom like a nonprofit. So now what starts to happen is God start to put flow, and then ego people who edge God out start making these videos and start saying, look what I did, look what I did, look what I did, buy from me. They edge God out, and then they start doing all kind of crazy stuff, and they don't be a good representation of God, and then they get canceled in front of everybody, right? So think about this though. What if you are obedient, and you may understand that your obedience don't mean that you're going to live forever? Did you know that your obedience is just to keep the kingdom moving the way that the kingdom is supposed to be moving? So stop thinking just because somebody passed away young, or stop thinking just because somebody got sick that they didn't serve their assignment. Because somebody might have passed away that ignited a different person in you to be able to go and save 1,000 lives. So now I always talk about this. What if there's 1,000 people out there praying to God right now for you of what you got going through? See, because man, I had a dope podcast the other week. And what he said is, what God sends out, he sends out echoes. And that means that it bounces and bounces. And then the person who catches and takes that assignment, you start seeing them level up. And level up just means attention. It's a reason why when you see somebody, you like, what's drawing me to that person? And it's a level up. Some of y'all can reject it and get jealous of it. And then therefore, God, it's like a whole algorithm. You sometimes a guy trying to send it out of echoes, and then some people grab the assignment. Some people gonna turn jealous of it because you're not called to assign to serve them, and then now they get distracted and make it about them and start arguing with the people that's distracting that assignment. And then 1,000 people who've been praying for you to get through it to help them, you being disobedient because you're worrying about that one person who the devil sent to distract that assignment. But think about this. What if there's 1,000 people out here praying and God is trying to say I'm real because the word keeps saying it and God's trying to keep showing them. And then all these misrepresentations of God showing up and it's online and you seeing it out here. And there's so many misrepresentations and you keep getting distracted and going all the way. And then now you keep letting it happen to where you're not obedient. These people are praying and God trying to figure out a way for you to get to them, but you ain't even qualified enough. You ain't go through enough. And then now, if I can just get you to get through this and understand that it's me here with you, you can get through it so that I can make you ready for these 1,000 people. See, we think that we can put a marketing campaign together and get somebody heart. No, we can only do that to get somebody attracted, because when the devil sends something, it's going to go fast. But when God is working on it, it can't go fast, because he got to make sure that you're the right person who's going to be able to do it. You done built your whole life around knowing that you got to have some kind of collateral when you start asking God for something. When you ask God for something, God gonna say, give me the same thing back. So if you're trying to get something from God without putting nothing in, you got to realize that God ain't gonna let that happen. And the reason why is because you're not ready for the people that I'm sending to you. I can send you a bunch of the people that's lost out here in the world and just want a quick come up because they want what it look like and they ain't planted in me. Go ahead and let the dancing bears distract them. But I'm sending you to warn the people. And you got to understand that warning the people is going to have a lot of people out here not liking what you got going on. You feel what I'm saying? So now you might be on that 9 to 5. You might be getting ready to leave your job. You might think that job is going to be here for 15, 20 years. But there's something in there. If you want to leave your 9 to 5, it's a reason you want to leave that 9 to 5. But I guarantee you, no matter what you do, if you're not obedient to why you're trying to leave that 9 to 5 and doing something, the people ain't going to come the right way anyway, because it's not planted the right way. And when I say plant it the right way, that means that what you're building for the people, they got to be able to come and they got to be able to plant seeds right back into that environment. And when they plant seeds right back into that environment, even if you leave this earth, that garden is there to produce enough harvest for everybody. Why is it so hard? It sucks because, man, it's just something where it just keep telling me you're not finished with your message. And I'm like, man, I'm supposed to be here with Kayla tonight. And it's like, you're not finished. Go to YouTube. And I'm like, why I gotta go to YouTube? I want to be on TikTok. It's weird. I don't know. But I don't know who I'm supposed to be talking to. But I guarantee you, though, is if you plan it right and you realize you document your journey and documenting what you're going through right now, there's people that's been praying for you. So if you're trying to leave your 9 to 5, the main thing, instead of offering a dancing bear course, because I know y'all was like, why you start preaching, right? And I ain't even no preacher, right? So, but the main thing is if you're trying to leave your 9 to 5, what can you produce to somebody that's going to be able to save them or change them and help them produce and provide a better life? But guess what? Most of the reason people fail when they try to leave their 9 to 5 is they don't believe enough in their assignment. And they allow people to come in and tell them they can't do it because they're in an environment for people. And then they say, well, coach, I'm in an environment with people and I can't do this. And I said, well, just based on the first sentence you told me, I'm around all these people and I can't do this. Somebody who you're around, or everybody who you're around, is the reason why you feel like you can't do it. They'll come back next week. Coach, I lost my job. Okay. Coach, I just need, if you can pay for my hotel for 4 or 5 days. And I said, well, pray on it. Listen to God, right? You get what I'm saying? So now some people would say, all right, let me be obedient and see what God is trying to tell me. And some people will say, man, coach, man, you suck. You couldn't even bail me out. I needed a hotel room. I'm speaking from experience, right? I'm tell you how it unfolds. And then they say, well, coach, they hit me up a couple months later. Coach, I just want to let you know that, yeah, even though I don't like my sister, because you didn't give, you forced me to have to go and stay there. I didn't respond. But they was mad at me for forcing them, in their words. That's how you know they're still being worked on. For staying with the sister that they couldn't stand. And her husband that they definitely couldn't stand. In a town, in a city that they never thought they'll live in. After they lost their job that they had for years on end. And then imagine them hitting me up 6 to 8 months later saying, coach, thank you for not doing that and getting me that hotel for me to find a job where I was at. Because now I did end up finding a job being around people that are in a totally different mindset, totally different mind frame, where now I'm around people that care. I'm around people that's trying to build. I'm around people that's trying to grow. And how about I went on ahead and I got my credit fixed, coach, and I'm actually in my own apartment now, making more money than I ever made, because the job that I was working on, I was making X amount of dollars, and I'm making almost double that now. So the thing about it is, when she was praying away from bad spirits and bad spirits and bad spirits, it came at her job getting lost, to where it wasn't an answer for her, because if she would have stayed around there where those spirits were, she would have got sucked back into it. But see, she prayed for it. And then now God raised up her sister at that time, who she never didn't even, well, who she was out, but her sister, God used her sister, who she didn't even have a good relationship, to be that person somewhere that was to help her. And her sister was just a vessel at that point. I don't even know if they got back together real cool or not. They probably, but she ended up getting her own, and now she's seeing things clearly. So now it looked like punishment. Sometimes that preparation, and sometimes that story don't always unfold that quick. And some of y'all are losing relationships with people that literally were called to help you. You get what I'm saying? So I want y'all to start thinking about it from that standpoint. And I need y'all to think, what am I going through, or what have I overcame? And how can I use this to stop somebody else from overcoming? Because what do you think gonna happen? Let's bring this back from the human side, and I'll take it back to kingdom, right? What do you think will happen if you took over a school or a shelter, right? You took over a school or a shelter, and there's 1,000 people out there in that shelter, and your job is to produce the food and nurture them and try to get them back right. And you realize that everybody that you're calling into that shelter to speak to the people are coming to take, not coming to serve, right? Would you keep calling them back? Because your job is to make sure that they understand that help is there, but you can't do it by yourself. But you need to bring people in, because now maybe she can't get off drugs after she done been human trafficked for 3 years in a basement. These are real conversations I'm having. Like, I'm having different conversations at different. So you might have somebody that's dealt with human trafficking the last 2 years in somebody's basement, where now she's out on drugs and she's in a shelter, where you're trying to build a trust, and you're trying to let her know, like, it's love here, it's help here, it's a way here. So it's a reason why, like, this assignment different to me than there's a lot of people, right? But think about this though. Now everybody that you bringing in are trying to exploit them, or everybody you bringing in looks like a good representation for them, but don't really care about them. They just there to get the little nonprofit check that you're giving them for coming in as the expert to transform the people, or help and counsel, but they're not really counseling. No, and stay with me. So now, would you continue to call them in? That happens. That really happens. Let's take it back to the kingdom though. What about the 1,000 people that's praying for God for a way out, and he sent it out? Nobody's grabbing that assignment because everybody edging God out, blocking it, and you like, God, please make it go away. And that's a whole assignment coming. Might be a job loss, might be having to move back in with your parents, might be having to move in out of town to save some money in a recession. It might be all that. And you think it's punishment, so you block it, and you saying, hey, God, please make the problem go away. Instead of, God, please help me figure out a way through this so that I can help somebody else prevent this. And then now get through this, document the way that I'm getting through it. Because when you start documenting your struggle, it's something in your mind triggers to say, I'm going to get through it. Because you wouldn't document it if you didn't feel like you'll get through it. Right? And that's why I lost so many friends around this whole dancing bear thing. So many people don't like me, and I'm okay with that. Because I'm not going to be disobedient to this assignment while the dancing bears take advantage of the people. It was people I was about to do conferences, trying to do live, and then it's in the middle of marketing it, like, we're gonna do this 3-day thing. I'm pulling out. I don't see the God in this. So, but anyway, When that happens, though, it's 1,000 people praying to God for you. They don't know they praying for you. And you keep dodging the assignment. But see, God, you get what I'm saying? You're not above it. You aren't above it. So think about this. When you're ready, though, and you say, God, please send me the people who you want me to serve. And there's going to be times where you don't want to go live. It's going to be times where you don't want to show up. You still got to be obedient and serving. And you'll see it. You're going to start seeing it in your life. You're going to start seeing all kind of stuff, right? So now when you start saying, hey, God, I need to make me stronger enough to get through this so I can be strong enough for the people that's going to come behind this. And now all of a sudden, a person hits you up. See, I'm telling you how it looks. Y'all think it's a game. Person hits you up and they say, hey, I heard you talk. I didn't want to say nothing in front of everybody, but when I heard you talk and tell your story, I wanted to let you know that I watched your Facebook Live one night. I was going to the bathroom about 1:30 in the morning, and I saw you on Facebook Live while I was on the toilet, and I was like, all right, just watching for a few minutes, and you start talking, and I realized my assignment that night. But I hadn't made a commitment that I was going to kill myself because I didn't see or think that it was nothing out here for me when the whole time I realized I didn't know how obedience looked. I'm supposed to tell my story. I'm supposed to help people through this to make sure that they're not going out and doing this. I just wanted to hit you up. I don't want nothing. I just wanted to say thank you, coach, because you saved my life. That's how they're going to start reaching out. So it's not going to be people coming and saying, I want to buy from you. Y'all got to stop being so transactional. People are not going to be, I just want to buy from you because God said buy from you. That's just being real, right? So it looks like that. That's how when you look at God and say, I didn't know what being obedient was, but now I know what I asked for and it's showing up. So the same thing that I was going to blow my brains out for, I turned it and start praying and saying, hey, God, please send me the people so I ain't got to do this. And then when they start showing up and saying, oh, you have no idea the impact you had on my life. And I'm like, me? Just from being obedient. But if I wouldn't have documented it and I would have just checked out, how many other people would have died? This thing here is a whole lot bigger than you. But just realize if you're going through something, it's part of the assignment. Don't think just because you're not rich right now that, oh, I ain't pray enough. No, your own time, your own pace. Trust me. Think back 5 years ago when you was in the worst day of your life. The good thing about your life right now is you survived the worst days of your life. You survived every one of the worst days of your life right now. Every single one of them. Y'all ain't realize that. You done survived every single one of the worst days of your life. So what I want y'all to do is make sure, because it's midnight, but I want y'all to make sure that if you're thinking about leaving your 9 to 5 and starting a business and you want to build a kingdom business, that the things that you're building for the people on your assignment to help them get from point A to point B, having that little extra boost and that help from the kingdom that comes and doing and treating them right. Now, I ain't saying being perfect. I make so many mistakes. You talking about me with things delayed, it don't mean they ain't getting it. I be delayed because I'm human. I'm trying to get stuff done. It's okay. I'm gonna get stuff done. But other than that, I'm never going to try to hurt people. And all you got to do is just be obedient. And when you overcome things, your job is to be the person that's going to market the kingdom, promote the kingdom. Y'all can promote a business. You can promote your boy business. You can promote this. You can promote that. Your homeboy get a car. You share it so you're proud of him. But then God will bring you through something. You'll thank everybody but him. Man, I want to go ahead and thank Miss Pearl, man. She gave me $20 when I was down and out. And you ain't even thank God for putting Miss Pearl in a position to even give you $20. You start edging God out and you start to talk. And then you know what y'all do when somebody don't give y'all? You start getting pissed off and throwing shots. I ain't had nobody, man. I ain't got nobody when I'm down. I wish I had somebody there for me when I'm down. But then the person that was there for you looking at you like, wow, You know how many people that I did for that soon as they got a little something, man, you know what? They ain't fooling with nobody. And I inbox them. I be like, dang, I hate that you feel that way. Whatever I did for you, I just hated it wasn't enough. No, I wasn't saying that. I do appreciate you. And I didn't do it to get credit. What I did is to shift their perspective into stop focusing on who didn't do for you and start thanking God that they weren't in the position to do for you because it would have distracted you from your pivot. Remember the post I made showing my account negative 300 and something $1,000? Only me and Attorney Taylor knew that. When I was talking to Attorney Taylor, I used to have to try to show, my accounts to the Attorney General. We was going through the whole deposition and all that mess. And I'm like, hey, I had to drive the Honda because, they came to repo the Yukon and I had to hide the Yukon because I don't have no access to no money. Like, she'll tell y'all. I used to have to show that. Like, one thing about my attorney, she's not gonna lie. And I'm in there crying, and they like, you know what I'm saying? They probably really wanted to stick it to me, but I was going through the worst time of my life right after losing my mom. So I know how it looks, but what I can tell you though is if everybody would have been there to bail me out, I wouldn't have pivoted. I wouldn't have been building that system that helped everybody through the pandemic. What I was, guess what happened? A guy came along. Y'all probably remember this. A guy came along and he said, hey, I want you to build me a system out of automation system the way that your credit repair company did it. I needed money. So I said, all right, cool. How much you gonna give me? And it was brokered. Homeboy reached out. It's Ty Crandall and Keith Knapp. They was like, hey, I got this guy. I ain't gonna say his name because it didn't end right. But I'm gonna tell you, this is just so funny. So I was trying to put, I was putting together this conference credit fest. Count so negative. Had just went to, court deposition with Attorney Taylor and all them. She was dealing with some stuff too, right? And so he was like, I'm gonna pay you $20-something thousand. I was like, bet. He said, I'm gonna break it down and like every 3 days, I'm gonna pay you like $5,000, right? I said, man, even better. So the 25K or the 20K was going to be paid before Credit Fest, right? I needed it. And then Ty Crowner came in and said, bro, why you didn't tell me what was going on? So he did come in and he paid for the yacht because we had a yacht party at Credit Fest. That was 2019, right? And I took my pops with me because I was like, he need to be on the yacht. I'm not lying about this. I promise you, because if I'm lying, then I'm lying about my testimony and I don't want to play with God like that, right? So now that money gave me enough to pay for the speakers. I had to put it into a whole nother merchant account in Kayla's name. Even though I was building it, working for her, because I was like, I ain't want nobody to come and try to say I'm running a business, until this thing is closed with the Attorney General, right? So anyway, I pulled it off, had enough money, right, to do it. Pulled the conference off so I didn't get embarrassed. Did you know that after I turned over that fully developed system for that guy, he charged everything back? And I was like, oh my God. So now they done went the new account that I started taking $1,000 a month coaching clients one-on-one in because I needed some revenue. The new account is now in the negative 20,000. Why they investigate the charge back? He charged it back. After I turned it over to him, got it, locked me out all of the things and charged it back. Ty was like, oh my God, no, I'm so sorry. I sent them to you, right? See, y'all saying it's terrible. Listen, this is why it sounds terrible. But what I'm saying, that's not scandalous. That guy was an angel. Because guess what happened? The system that I had built for him, I wouldn't have built it like that unless I built that like I was working for my life. That was the best system I've ever built in my life. And I built it to where it can be duplicated. Hold on. I'm gonna tell y'all something crazy. Guess what happened after that? Guess what happened? Y'all, I want y'all gotta say, guess what? I need y'all to play with me. Pause. But I need y'all to play along, right? So anyway, the group that I was in said, hey, we want to learn about systems and blah, blah, blah. So I got with L and I got with a few more people and I said, hey, Brandon shot me. I need to use your place for free. And he said, all right, what you want to do? I said, I'm gonna bring the Credit Repair University back, but I'm gonna do it for free. He said, well, how you gonna monetize it? I said, I have no idea. I said, I watched the video of my mom coming and raiding my closet and giving it to the kids in her neighborhood. And I just want to honor her by giving back. I had no intention to make money, right? It's crazy. I'm already in the hole. And I said, but if I give them enough value, somebody might ask me for coaching. He was like, all right, cool. So I did the Atlanta conference free at that time where all of my stuff was paused. And so when I did it, I literally walked them through how to automate their business. Aubrici was there. I walked them through how to automate their business. And they was like, oh my God, can you build me a system that's going to do this? I said, yeah. So I built the system. And guess how much I sold the system for? Because I already had it. I said, well, you can get it for $300, $297. People was buying it for $297, right? Everybody that was there bought it for $297. And I said, well, how much monthly? I was like, $70. That's how much it's costing me monthly to maintain it. Cool. Half the people said, oh man, this system right here is cool, but I ain't getting no clients. They was charging back. That it's cool. Y'all gonna be like, that's crazy, right? All these things had to happen, right? So now they was charging back. So I said, man, what can we do to build this thing better? So I created the automation boot camp, showing people. So I was like, they have their own system. I'll show them what accounts to sign up for, and I got a what's the name link. And then we started building it, and then I started adding everything, and then I created something, and I said, hey, because I'm tired of people charging back, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna build something to where you no longer have to go to the post office. In the automation that I got in y'all system, I built it to where now all they had to do is save the dispute letter and drop it right there into their Google Drive. And I built the API that integrated directly with the United States Post Office Service, so that a moment they drop it in there, to automatically present a cover letter for the person that's actually on the dispute letter with a return address directly to the bureau and everything. It'll automatically read that, print it on the cover letter, fold it, and mail it without them ever having to leave the house. And then people was getting their disputes faster because they didn't have to put stamps on it or nothing. And it was only charging them like 75 cents a letter or something. And so everybody was like, oh my God, I want that. Right? And I'm gonna tell you, I wouldn't have been in a position. And then now it went crazy because people was like, oh, I want it, I want it, I want it. And now the people that charged back said, oh, I want it. And I said, no, now you got to pay $2,000 for it. And it started building a demand. It didn't blow wide open then, but people were still paying $2,000 for it. But now that ain't even it. Guess what happened though? COVID. Post office closed. So imagine the post office being closed. People can't go because of COVID. People don't want to pay them for the credit repair for their company now because you can't even send the letters out. Is the post office open? Yeah, they're still sending stuff, but you got to make an appointment to go there, and they don't take bulk mail, which means that, oh, people who charge me back, you don't have a company now. So now guess what? It's $3,500 now. I don't have it, but you got a business. Yeah, my business suffered. Oh, I could get PPP. So guess what? Now all of the people was getting $20,000 and Automate My Flow dropped. And I was literally making millions and millions of dollars in that month. So think about this. All of the stuff that y'all said sucked. Oh man, that person's scandalous. No, because if God didn't send him to say that he would pay me that for the system, I wouldn't have moved. You get what I'm saying? If God didn't send him to say I would pay that for the system, I wouldn't have moved. And I had prayed to pull Credit Fest off, so it did work. I didn't pray what happened after that. So when the money went back, I had the system that I needed because I had forced obedience. And if my money wouldn't have been low, see, God had to remove access to all that to give me more though. But what if I would have kept fighting it and fighting it and fighting it and fighting it and fighting it instead of embracing it? I wouldn't have been in a position to be the person that builds something. So when the market goes and need it, like the brownstone, y'all see how I brought that back together? So if I wouldn't have built that, some of the things that y'all are building, God giving y'all the answer and who's about to go through it. And I literally made the most money I've ever made in my life by being obedient, not stopping and doing things like that. So the next time, yeah, and like what Attorney Taylor said, and some things happened in her life that caused a 3-month delay with the Attorney General, which gave me time to build it back and resolve it. And when I built the, when I had the money to be able to resolve it, when they came down, it was like, hey, look, y'all have been through enough. I had zero, Attorney Taylor, I had zero client complaints. Now, there's people that the AG come after that their clients be complaining and they got to pay them back and do all kind of crazy stuff. I had zero client complaints, though. And so they didn't stick it to me. They just said, all right, hey, you didn't know. We get it. Just do this. And I was in a position to do it. And they were like, all right. And they ain't bothered me since. So the thing about it is when you are going through things, if you're running on a track and you're out there running a mile and you're around the first 2 laps and nothing has happened, you ain't gonna pay attention until you're running and all of a sudden you stumble over a rock or a crack. You're gonna fall. That's the only time that you're gonna get up and look back and say, what in the world was that hurt me? And then somebody's gonna be coming and you got 2 options. Do I just turn around and run and let them continue to get hurt? Or do I stop and say, hey, crack there, man. Be careful. Jump over it. Run around. You get what I'm saying? So some of us are in that position of, do we warn people of what happens when we don't be obedient? See, I'm past the, this is how you do this and stay out of trouble. I'm on the, this is what disobedience and obedience look like. There's a certain level of protection that being obedient follows. And a lot of y'all can't see it because y'all not obedient to it. So faith played a big part of that. So before then, I used to tithe, I used to offer, I used to be like, yeah, I'm tithing and offering. It was for the look and for the show. I knew of God, but it wasn't until I knew that, until I went through that, where I literally got to see God. So that when people are like, oh man, you talking about God? I don't care. Because once you see God, you can't unsee God. It's just no way. Certain things that happen to where it's like, you can call it magic or whatever, but some things, the way that they happen is you just cannot unsee God. So what do? When you have testimony like that? And because if Attorney Taylor wasn't here to vouch for that, a lot of y'all still be thinking I'm lying about those situations, right? And it's okay. I don't care. It's just, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. And you know what you're supposed to be doing too. So the note that I'm going to leave it on is, you know what you're supposed to be doing, but don't just leave your 9 to 5 for the money. Leave your 9 to 5 for your assignment so that when you build it, there's nothing that a hater, nothing that a person that doesn't believe is going to be to do to stop you. Because guess what? There's going to be people from all over the world looking for your solution, that you got the training, the obedience, and y'all hear scripts and y'all hear stuff like, God ain't going to put no more on me than I can bear. And then as soon as God puts something on, oh, God, get it off me. If you know that God ain't gonna put no more on you than you can bear, if you know that weeping may endure for the night, but joy cometh in the morning, and we're not talking about going to bed crying and waking up rich. We're talking about going through it, because once you get through it, on the other side is the solution for somebody. Now, some of y'all go through the solution, y'all come up, and then y'all take the credit for it, and then wonder why people ain't coming, and wonder why you got to hire a marketing team. And then some people say, hey, I know what obedience looked like, so I got through it, and I want to publicly thank God for it. And I don't want to ever take the credit for it and edge God out of it, because I know that if I would have blew my brains out in the closet that night, I wouldn't have been able to tell nobody this story, because there's somebody right now that's about to give up. The recession is rough. It's rough on a lot of people. And there's some of y'all about to give up that if y'all did not hear from this, you would have probably thought of something crazy. So I did my obedience tonight. I did my part. If I bless you in any kind of way, just share this live with somebody. Just subscribe to the YouTube. I'm here to serve. I'm here to love on y'all. Pause. But I want to make sure that y'all got what y'all need to be able to that. And all I want to do is come on here and brag about God every chance I can get. And because you might be thinking things are rough right now, but you actually up. Think about that person that can't see out of both of their eyes right now. Think about somebody that can't even hear this live right now. right? Because the man with no socks was wondering why the man with no shoes wasn't complaining. And he asked him, hey, man with no shoes, why you ain't complaining? Because I ain't got no socks. And the man with the shoes said, no, the man with no shoes, my bad. The man with no shoes asked the man with no socks why he wasn't complaining. And the man with no socks turned around and looked at him and said, because I met the man with no feet. And I'm going to leave y'all with that. Love y'all.